Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist Church of Central Alabama and to the church in Birmingham, our sister congregation. We are led by Julie Conradi. I am Mary Weeks, your worship associate for today. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. To all here this morning, welcome home. Announcements. Please be sure to read the announcements in the newsletter and the e-blasts on Newsnet to stay informed on upcoming events. We often have information on the bulletin out front in the foyer for updates on what's happening. On the back of your order of service is the contact information for our congregational leaders and Reverend Julie. Any announcements from the floor? Anna. Sharon. Any other announcements? The prelude prepares us for the service. Please rise in body and spirit for the lighting of the chalice. Come out of the dark earth, here where the minerals glow in their stone cells, deeper than the seed or birth. Come into the pure air above all heaviness of storm and cloud, to this light-possessed atmosphere. Come into, come out of, come under the earth, the wave, the air. Love, touch us everywhere with primeval candor. In the spirit of inclusivity and welcome, please take a moment to greet your neighbors. Hi, Joseph. And Aline. Pay no attention to the hymn number on your order of service. The hymn we are singing today is 1014 in the Teal hymnal. Hi, Declan. Our church is supported by those who call our church home, and by those who support the efforts of our church to change our world for the better. If this is your first time here, please let the plate pass. We're just glad you're here. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflects UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. Today's Split the Plate goes to Jeremiah's Garden. I believe it's time for the children's story. Oh, I'm very sorry. Joys and concerns. When we gather in a loving community, we remember that we do not travel alone. We share our lives as we light candles and hold each other in meditative thought and reverence. We invite you to come forward, give us your name, and light a candle from the common flame. You may do so in silence if you wish.
My name's Monty. It's nice to see everyone. I haven't been here for a little while because I've been participating in the meditation, and I can't do both because of the timing of where I live. So anyway, for some of you, I'm probably known for kind of wearing message shirts and so forth, but today I'm wearing a message jacket for World War II veterans, but we just celebrated Veterans Day. And so I'm celebrating Veterans Day, and I want to acknowledge my friend Tony over there in the corner, who's a veteran, and fellow dog lover. But I'm also, I want to say something about war and veterans real quickly. My entire family are all veterans, and my godfather, who passed from PTSD, suicidal. And I communicate with my family and friends back in California often, and it's come to my attention that people try to turn this into political things all the time. And I really dislike that, but one of the things that I learned real quickly this last week when I was exploring some things with my dad, who is a World War II and a Korean War veteran in the Air Force and the Army Air Corps, that he did his training at where I went to college, junior college, Allen Hancock College, which I found out was the American aeronautical college in the United States in 1929. And so anyway, I write to people back in my hometown, and immediately it was tried to be turned into, well, that person was a Democrat and that person was a Republican and this and that and the other, because I mentioned that my dad liked Ike. And, but I wasn't really trying to make a political statement. So for all the veterans, Tony and others who may be here in the room, I acknowledge you. Thank you.
My name is Shampa Dada. This is a candle of concern for my uncle who is 93 years old in Cambridge, Ma. And he's not keeping too well, so praying for him. I'm also concerned about LGBTQ folks in Alabama, and just wanted to let you know that there is a very active group, and if you want, I can send you the link, on Facebook called Alabama LGBTQ Action Group. And they are having conversations right now with people. So there's one scheduled for tonight and another for Wednesday evening. So 7 p.m. So if you're interested, do let me know and I'll send you the link. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Kiki. This is a candle of concern for our democracy. And I receive emails from pro-democracy groups, Indivisible, and those groups, and it is suggested that we can do something to push back. Please call our senators. That's Katie Britt and Tuberville. Please call them and remind them that they must honor the principle, the constitutional principle of advice and consent, and that we expect nothing less from them. These calls do make a difference. Thank you.
I'm Deb Crocker. I told you about going up last week for my uncle's services. He died just barely a week ago. It was great to see family, and I was handed a notebook. His wife, aunt, her sister does genealogy, and she had this big notebook. A lot of stuff I knew, but there was original material in there that I had no idea even existed, like a journal that my mother's grandmother wrote in about between 1950 and 53 when she died. She wrote her whole history in there about where she lived and what it was like and everything like that. So there was that. But the other thing that's going up there is it's just dry. It's a tinderbox up there. They've had no rain. It's so dry. And so I said to my brother, I really need some chapstick. I'm just dying up here. So he threw me, my brother sells solar up there. They have tons of solar installations right now. Electricity is a lot more expensive up there. So he threw me like 1 billion chapsticks. He has a company, it's not a sales pitch, they don't work down here. Nobody works down here because solar is not, it just doesn't work out down here. But it says, kiss your electric bill goodbye. So if anybody needs some chapstick, anybody dying for some, I'd be happy to share. I have way more than I need down here.
Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm just going to follow up on what Monty was saying, that this week being the week that we celebrate Veterans Day, that's they're very close to my heart. So I also have a family with lots of veterans. My grandfather served in the Philippine conflict. My other grandfather served in World War II, was injured at the Battle of Normandy, but survived. And my dad served in Vietnam in the Navy. And I have two great uncles who lived in California who were very influential to us. Both of them survived the sinking of a battleship. So I think it was the USS Indianapolis. And so that's something that's really important. But also something that's really important is that often we think of the veterans, but we don't think of their families. And everyone who grew up in a family with veterans knows that the families, they bear a tremendous weight as well. And we are seeing this more and more as we're becoming more aware as a society of things like shell shock and PTSD and the lasting impacts that those types of disorders create for families. So I just want to acknowledge that you're seeing, if that's the case for you, that you're aware and you're seeing. And then I just have the wonderful people in my life, and I sort of celebrated my first year with Myrick. So I'm so thankful that he's here today and thankful to have him in my world. So.
This is just a personal conquest of my own. I got Venmo, and it's something I really resist. But I've lost a lot of sales at the art market because I didn't have anything like that. And I just want to say that yesterday at the art market, it was like 300% more sales because of Venmo. And I don't know how to transfer it yet to my credit union, but I will learn that today. So,
My name is Aleem Thompson, and I'm married to Miriam Wright, who some of you may still remember. And I used to come here maybe, I guess, 20 years ago. I'm with Joseph. I call him my bonus son. And I just want to express my joy of being here after so many years. Some of you I remember, and many of you are new faces, but I'm just so delighted that the congregation is still vibrant, and there's so many people here, because I know there have been struggles through the years, and it's just wonderful to be here. And I want to just say one thing, your list of organizations. I intend to create a hub for a group called Faith in Action here in Tuscaloosa. Faith in Action started, I think, around 2017. It's national. Here in Alabama, Faith in Action Alabama, we have hubs. Well, when I first became active, it was Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, and Mobile. Now we have quite a few hubs throughout the Black Belt. And it is an organization of congregations of all faiths. It is mostly the Black Christian Church, which I find extremely inspiring, just the power of their faith. So anyway, we work to overcome systemic racism and provide paths of opportunity for all Alabamians. And I would love it if some of you all, as a congregation, became active once. And I will be contacting, I don't know who, but Joseph will tell me.
they'll find you after.
Okay, well, inviting you all to become involved. So I'm just privileged to be here.
Good morning, everyone. Lighting a candle for my late husband, James, who was a veteran. And after we moved down here, we spent a lot of time, at least twice a week, at the VA. And he would wear a different hat, sometimes his Vietnam hat, sometimes his Bama hat, but mostly his military hats. when he would go there. And it was interesting because he wouldn't wear them too many other times out in public, which he never talked about Vietnam either. I don't think, I do think he experienced PSTD. I can't say it right. I never say initials correctly. But he stopped drinking shortly after we met. But before that, I could not wake him up because he would come up swinging. It was terrible. I would just have to shake his foot in the recliner and let him come awake. And I think once he quit drinking, well, we were together for about a year before he quit drinking. Once he stopped that, he stopped having nightmares. Only cried to me one time that you shouldn't kill children. So I think there are so many vets that are still experiencing some of those traumas that were awful. And of course, we all know when they came home from Vietnam, they were not welcomed. You know, the politics were, this country did not understand that being in the military is a job. It is not political. Now we're past that. I'm crazy to think that Desert Storm, which was a war, did that for us and helped really start recognizing problems that World War II, Korean, Vietnam vets, you know, they need our help, they need our support. And this past Veterans Day was very emotional for me. My son's godmother, back in Illinois, she lost her husband John 3 weeks before James passed away. And the two of them were thick as thieves. And we often kid each other now that they're up in heaven, sitting in their lawn chairs, smoking cigars, and laughing at the fact that we can't reach anything on the top shelf. They're thinking, we told them they were going to miss us when we're gone. And I can just hear him saying that. But John was in Navy and James was Army. We did Veterans Day lunches every year for 15 years. So it was sad but happy. But God bless all the veterans and their families.
I'll light one final candle for any joys, concerns that remain on our hearts. May the white light of these flames bring us peace. I believe now is time for the children's story. Debbie Carden.
I remember reading children's stories when Joseph was a child here at this church, and it's not gotten any easier for me, so pardon me. This book is called The Tree Farmer. Grandfather, says the boy, I thought you lived on a farm. You don't have very many chickens, and where are the cows and pigs? Grandfather says slowly, we grow trees. Wow, apples and oranges? I hope they're not figs. Can I help you pick them? Grandfather smiles. Come, take my hand. Let me introduce you to the pines. Look how gracefully they race each other towards the sky. Those over here are the oaks. I like to think of them as the old men of the farm. And here are the maples, whose leaves shower the earth with the most splendid colors. They are so beautiful, says the boy. Trees offer more than beauty, says Grandfather, watching the boy. These trees clean the air we breathe and the water we drink. Without the forests of the world, we would not be able to live. Look, There's a deer passing on its way to the hidden lake, Grandfather says. There are many animals here who call the forest their home. I must tell you, there is much more for me to do as I take care of the trees. I plant them as young seedlings. To make sure they grow, I trim their branches and protect them from insects and wildfire. I am also responsible for helping keep nature in balance so all the other plants and animals in the forest are safe and healthy. There is much to consider. That is why I'm so careful as to when and how I cut down trees. You cut them down? Says the boy. But why? How could you? Grandfather reaches out for the nearest tree. This tree, he says, as he runs his old fingers over its rough bark, I planted it 37 years ago. It touches my soul to stand in its shadow. After today, it will touch souls in a completely different way. Part of this tree will be made into a crib to protect a baby and gently carry her as she dreams. This tree, says Grandfather, moving to another, will become a home for a family. It will safely house them and their memories in joy and sadness and shelter them at night through storms. This tree will become many things: a baseball bat, a school book, a wooden puzzle, a chair, a paper airplane, a chest of drawers, wrapping paper, a photograph, wallpaper, an artist's sketchbook, a paint easel, newspaper, paper bags, fuel for a campfire, and even, he pauses, the handle of an axe that will be used to harvest other trees. It's a lot of things for one tree, isn't it? The life of this tree will pass to the piano to be made from its wood. It will join its many cousins, the violin and cello, the guitar and clarinet, the marimba and drum. It will live on in its sweetness of music, reflecting the rhythm, harmony, and melody of life. This tree will become paper upon which many people will share their ideas, thoughts, and dreams. It will be a source of inspiration and knowledge. Grandfather smiles sweetly. Can you see them? Newspapers, photos, books, even a love letter in its envelope, written with passion and sealed with endless hope to be forever treasured by who receives it. Grandfather closes his eyes as he rests his hand on the next tree. This tree, too, he says softly, is sacred and is destined to become a four-poster bed, the place where dreams are conceived. It will quiet the body after the day's work is done and make the spirit young again with the promise of a new day. Some big trees. What about this one? Asked the boy, turning to the large oak in front of the farmhouse. What will happen to this tree? This oak was here before my grandfather and will be here long after you share it with your own grandchildren. And I, too, Grandfather said proudly with his hand on his own chest, have given of myself. I am a steward of this land and have worked hard with respect and love to care for the trees. This land has given us her gifts for generations. If we are reckless, we could destroy the forest as well as the animals in it. We must remember to give ourselves as the forest has given to us. If we do, and we harvest the land responsibly, there will be no end to her gifts. Putting his hand on the head of the boy, Grandfather says softly, in what marvelous ways shall you give of your life, young one? That's it. Thank you. We'll send the children back to you.
Our speaker today is Leah Cannell. She is a teacher, naturalist, gardener, sometimes artist from Decatur, Georgia. She holds a bachelor's degree in biology, political science from the University of Georgia, and a master's from East Carolina University, where she studied community ecology. After graduate school, Leah started teaching. She has taught both formally and informally for all age groups and abilities, but always about science and nature. She currently teaches biology, organic farming, and interdisciplinary sciences, and sustainable home landscape, thank you, for the University of Alabama through the New College and biology departments. Her background in biology and interest in gardening and farming led her to begin volunteering at Jeremiah's Garden, where she was elected to the board of directors in April 2024. Leah lives in Cottondale with her husband, dogs, cats, chickens, and a turtle named Donatello. Welcome, Leah.
Hi, good morning. How are y'all today? So I was invited here to talk about things like gardening and sustainability and to tell you about Jeremiah's Garden. As she said, I've been volunteering for Jeremiah's for a little under a year, and I have found it to be a place of joy and peace and community, and that's just hanging out there. Its purpose is to grow vegetables and fruits. We do have a bunch of fruit trees. For the local food banks. So we service the West Alabama Food Bank, Table of Grace, Canterbury, and Catholic Social Services. And we are not an organic farm, but we do strive to be as sustainable as possible. If you want to discuss why organic farming is a difficult thing to start and to continue, I'll be happy to talk to you about those things. So Jeremiah's is currently growing, if you know anything about Alabama, you've been here a while, our growing season is all year, basically. So right now we're in the cooler months, or at least we just are now in the cooler months. It wasn't very cool until about 2 days ago. So this is our green season. So we're currently growing things like, there's a massive field of collard greens. We also have collards, the kale, cabbage. We're growing lettuces right now. Our herb garden is still doing well, and we have the end of the summer's peppers still growing. Our organization is volunteer run. No one who works for Jeremiah's gets any kind of compensation for that. The garden was started by Betty and Roy Lofton, who were members of Holy Spirit. The land for the garden was given to Jeremiah's Garden by the Holy Spirit, by a father who was named Jeremiah, so the garden is named after him. Our symbol, of course, is a bullfrog, because, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Yeah, you know. So he's a bullfrog in a straw hat, and although the land itself is owned by Holy Spirit, the organization itself is its own 501c3. It is adjacent to Catholic Social Services, so it's kind of tucked away in this little, I'd say it's a bit of a valley area. So you kind of have to go down a hill and around a corner, and you come to a fence, and then you're like, holy, this is in the middle of Tuscaloosa. And it's 15 acres or so of about 6 in cultivation and about 7 that aren't in cultivation. So the ones in cultivation are divided between our vegetable patches, and then there's an area that is not fenced in that's full of trees. And we grow fruits such as plum. We have a huge plum orchard, pears, apples, figs, mulberries. We do have an elderberry patch, a few pecan trees, and of course there's some trees that have always been there that we're just not going to mess with. There's oaks and sycamores and other things that are actually quite large, considering they're in the middle of a kind of a developed area. So we have about half of the land in cultivation, and the other half is wild. It's across a creek, so we don't have a great way to get to that property right now. That's one of the projects we're looking to start, is to build a bridge across the creek, and not to develop that area, right? But to keep it wild and possibly to make nature trails. So as you probably have realized, we are a people that love to be outdoors. Humans are just built to be outdoors and in nature and enjoying and listening to the birds and breathing in those good particles that the trees are giving off. That's what we love. And we get too far away from that in our everyday lives. We end up in air conditioning. We end up sitting in front of a computer. But having nature trails, having a place to go that is just a little bit wild is really soothing to the soul. There's this thing called Japanese forest bathing you might have heard of, whereas you go into the forest just to hang out with the trees. And I do that on a regular basis myself. I'm a big fan of trees. So we're hoping to get that bridge built so that we can potentially develop that area into nature trails, possibly even a food forest, and invite things like the Audubon Society to come out and do bird walks with people, because our bird diversity is crazy. I was sitting out there yesterday in the pine tree. There's a huge pine tree in the garden. It had about 10 bird species in it, and I'm just going, what are you guys talking about? And it was just 10 bird species in the same tree, and that's not something you find in the middle of a city all that often. So we're fortunate to have the wild area that gives us those organisms, that genetic diversity, that, all of that good stuff that adds back to the garden. Because our garden, we don't really use pesticides unless we absolutely have to, and then we use the ones that are really gentle, so things like BT, that directly attacks a specific kind of insect. So our birds are part of our pest control. So having that reservoir of trees behind the garden gives them places to live and grow their families and forage. And part of that foraging is coming over to us in the garden and picking the bugs off of the plants for us. So having that area where they can live is vital to having a healthy garden. Putting perches, if you've got a garden at your house, if you can put perches in your garden area where the birds can land and forage in your plants and then go back to the perch, is a great way to get some really free help with pest control. Thank you, birds. And then having those areas, if you have wasps, y'all. Wasps are friends. We appreciate our wasps. We don't go killing them because wasps are predators. So they'll swoop in on your plants and get those caterpillars right off of there for you. So that diversity of organisms that's available, because we have a wild area, because we don't use those pesticides, those things are helping us keep our garden as organic as possible without being truly organic. We grow in the thousands of pounds of vegetables per year for the food banks. We give almost all of it away. The stuff that we don't give away, we usually take donations for. If someone comes to the garden, sees we have excellent produce, and says, hey, I'd really like some of your okra, or I'd really like some of your collard greens, we say, we'll take a donation for a little bit of this thing. But almost all of our produce is donated to food banks. And that's our main purpose, because we feel that access to healthy fruits and vegetables makes healthy people. And the people who can least afford those things are the ones that utilize the food banks. If you've ever worked in a food bank or donated to a food bank, you know that most of the time they're looking for things that are easily shelved. So we're talking canned foods, boxed foods, stuff with a lot of preservatives in it, usually a good bit of salt, right? Some weird things that say artificial flavors that none of us know what is that? Do y'all know? Because I don't. So that's the kind of thing that people in food banks are generally donated. The problem is those kinds of foods are not the ones that give you peak health, right? Peak health, the things that keep you from disease, are things like fresh fruits and vegetables, nice, clean food, organic when you can get it. Those kinds of things are going to give you the kind of nutrition that can help you be your best, help you keep you the healthiest you can be. And the darker it is, the more colors are in that food, the more likely you are to get the right combination of things that are going to help you do things like fight cancer. So antioxidants are found in those colors of food, which is why they tell you to eat a rainbow, right? So the blue and the blueberries are anthocyanins, right? Those things are antioxidants that start to attack those free radicals in your body and help prevent disease. So the darker the leafy green, right? The redder the pepper. Those different chemicals combine in a way to keep you as healthy as you can be. And we feel that that access to that kind of health should be for everybody. And that is why we donate our food to the food banks, so that people who can't afford healthy fruits and vegetables, because that does get expensive in a grocery store, they can at least get access to what we can give through Jeremiah's garden. I'm looking at Joseph to see if I missed anything. Okay. So I was given 20 minutes. I don't know that I needed 20 minutes to talk, so I thought I'd take questions if anybody has questions about how to volunteer, who's welcome in the garden, and the answer is everybody. Go ahead.
Oh, is this located where unloaded Harrison?
So the question is, where is the garden? It's on Harrison Parkway. So if you know where the Big Holy Spirit Church is, directly across the street, you're going to see a sign that says Jeremiah's Garden. There's a road right next to it. Yeah, so you follow the road down, and then you pass by Catholic Social Services, and you keep going and around to the right, and you'll come to a gate, and that's where you'll usually find people in the garden. We also have a free little library. So I teach organic farming for the university. My students last spring decided to create a free little library to put outside of Catholic Social Services. It's stocked with gardening books and seeds. So if somebody who uses Catholic Social Services wanted to start their own garden, they have the information and the seeds there ready to go. If you even have just a little bit of land or even a pot on your patio, you can grow a little bit of your own food. Yeah, go ahead.
Are there any specific times for volunteering?
So typically somebody is there around 9 to 9:30 a.m. Every day but Sunday. And if you want a specific time to volunteer, you're more than welcome to contact us. If there's a group that wants to come out, we unlock the gate, we give you basic instructions on the projects that need doing that day, some safety tips, because, garden tools can be sharp, right? You don't want to step on a hoe and whack yourself in the head, that kind of thing. So there would be somebody there, me or Roy Lofton, who is one of the founders of the garden, or potentially Joseph. Would be there to help guide you, to give you instructions on how to help out in the garden. Yes, ma'am.
I'm in awe of what you're doing.
Thank you.
I think this is a wonderful project.
I agree.
Very much.
Oh, I am taking this much credit because this project is old. It's from about 2016, 2017. And our founders, Betty and Roy Lofton, have been doing it for all of that time until we lost Betty about a month ago. So Roy is he's still there, he's working, and we are picking up and continuing the project in Betty's memory, and also because of, all of the good it does in the community. Yes, ma'am.
Just two things. I don't think people really understand poverty levels here in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that drives me completely insane is that down where we call the Black Belt.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of the best dirt in the United States.
So good.
The poverty levels are running 34, 56%
Sure.
in that county. Because people don't know how to put a garden together. They don't grow their stuff.
So poverty in the Black Belt is definitely a thing that needs to be considered. Part of the reason there is poverty in the Black Belt is because a lot of the farms that are down there are massive and owned by only a few people. So the people who are in poverty in the Black Belt don't necessarily have access to the kind of land they would need to do that much gardening.
One other thing, I noticed when I went by Table of Grace the other day, they've got flower beds.
They have brand new raised beds.
Doing vegetables.
So they talked to me a little bit about it over the summer when I was dropping vegetables off at Table of Grace. They have raised beds right outside of the food pantry if you haven't been by there to see them. I don't know what they're growing right now, but I think they have plans to get those growing so that the people who volunteer can, take some of the produce that they're growing right there and put it into their food bank. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What about your water supply?
Our water. So we're currently on a well. The well, and it's one of our projects that we're trying to take care of. Our well was dug kind of improperly. It wasn't dug deep enough. So there's a lot of sediment in the water that we use. It's fine for the plants, but it does tend to discolor. If you spray it onto the leaves, it tends to discolor because it has some of that sediment in it. So one of the things we would really like to do is to have a deeper well dug, and then to get an irrigation system that allows us to put tubes right up against the plant and water each individual plant. So irrigation systems come in huge varieties, right? So you can get them that spray everywhere, but those aren't really efficient. You lose a lot to evaporation. In our case, it would discolor the leaves, so it's a bad idea. You can get soaker hoses that kind of leak all along. But I think the ones that we're really interested in are the ones that have specific holes, right? So you get a hole every foot or so that you get a direct drip onto each individual plant. Yeah, drip irrigation. So that is a thing that we're trying to raise money for, is to get our water fixed and to get a drip irrigation system going. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any specific events or plans to pay for this new well? Is it a capital item?
Not yet. So our navigator, we just lost our navigator. So right now we're in the process of trying to reorganize the organization in a way that we can go ahead and start applying for grants. But that information was held by Miss Betty, and she is no longer with us. So I just received all of the documents to try to get us reorganized yesterday. And it was a big box and a bag and another bag. So it might be a hot minute, but we just got a grant through RC&D, which gave us a new hoop house. So if y'all have seen them, it's like think of a semicircle with some plastic on top. And that just went up. We finished it right before Music in the Garden, which was the big event that we had in late October. And it is nice. It's nice. We actually had our last board meeting in there, and it rained, and we stayed mostly dry inside of the little plastic hoop house. So we'll use that to extend our season. So season extension is, things like greenhouses and using brick walls for heat and stuff like that. We'll use that to start seeds in so that we can have seeds down, in the garden in January, and that greenhouse will keep them warm and with plenty of light on them. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have, excuse me, I had wanted to have collards and kale in my garden, and I haven't done anything. And then I was thinking about what they put on the stuff that any of the places where I might buy them, like starts. Could I buy some starts from you?
We get our starts from Browns.
What's that?
We get our starts from Browns. If we don't start them ourselves, we get them from Browns.
I was just wondering, but I haven't been there.
Yeah, so if you're gonna grow collard greens right now, you would want to get started plants instead of trying to start seeds.
That's what.
Yes, ma'am. I would get them from Browns.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You share about composting?
Yes. Thank you for the reminder. So I hear you guys are interested in sustainability and trying to help, with protecting the climate and things like that. One of the things that we try to do in the garden is compost. So we have 2 compost piles at the moment, one that is nearly finished. So when you make a compost pile, sooner or later you have to stop adding stuff to it so you can use it. So we have one that's nearly finished and one that's just begun. And we take compost from people. If you were willing to drive it down to the garden, we will take your compost. But there are specific things that you can't put in compost. Those things are meat, oils, anything that's heavily salted, citrus peels, and then anything that might have been treated with herbicides. Some herbicides like Grazon are very, very persistent, and by persistent I mean they do not break down for nothing. So we try to keep those out of our compost because, herbicides kill plants, and that's what we're trying to grow. So don't put the herbicides in the compost. You get what I'm saying. So if you wanted to bring us your things like coffee grounds, eggshells, vegetable peels, that kind of stuff, we're happy to have that and direct you to the correct compost pile to stick it in. And composting is one of the ways that we're trying to regenerate soil, because after a few years of gardening, your soil gets depleted and you have to start giving back to it, feeding it, so it can continue to make good plants and good vegetables.
Is there a specific kind of container we need to bring?
That is up to you. So the question was, is there a container, a specific container you need? I have a little can at home that I use. It's just a countertop metal can. You can use a pail, a bucket with a lid. It doesn't matter. If you're gonna just drop the whole thing, paper, right? So if you've got compost in a paper bag and you just wanna dump the paper bag, that's fine. But, leave the plastic out, obviously. But anything you have that you're willing to put stacks of veggies in and then drop off, especially y'all, it's Thanksgiving, so I know some of y'all are going to be making a big old mess of greens. All those stems are great compost, and we are happy to have them.
In my garden, I had a lot of earthworms. I was away for 7 years, and nobody tended the garden. It just grew up in the trees and everything. And my soil has very few earthworms now. So aside from just putting compost in, what's with that?
What's up with that? So one of the reasons you might have few earthworms, depending on what trees are growing in your garden, and probably wouldn't be the pine trees. Some things are insect deterrents. I know worms aren't insects, but they would have things that deter them. If there's not enough moisture in the soil, it would deter earthworms.
Well, I've taken all those trees out myself.
Okay.
And so I've seen a couple that was like really rich.
Sparse, yeah. So I would say throw a bunch of leaves on there and wait.
Yeah.
They will come.
Okay. And another question, when I was a kid, I put cardboard
Mhm.
behind the garage and had earthworms for fishing. So what's with that?
So cardboard is paper.
Yeah.
Paper is trees.
Yeah.
Trees are, things that organisms like to eat and break down. So cardboard can be a really handy, cheap, free mulch that you could use. Say if you wanted to keep the weeds down around a bush or something, you could cardboard and then put mulch on top of it so it doesn't look like cardboard. But that dampness and the fact that it's compostable and edible by some crustaceans and stuff like that would create a nice little habitat for things to want to come to the surface. So in your case, the dampness is probably what brought those worms up. Sure. I'm full of them, y'all. You got 100 garden questions, I got 100 garden answers, and every one of them's right and every one of them's wrong. Go ahead.
I don't know how typical our household is, but a few days ago, I was thinking to myself, boy, just our one household alone gets, it might be fair to say hundreds of Amazon boxes.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if our teeny household gets this many Amazon deliveries each week, how many Amazon boxes are being put out there
Right,
and trashed in landfills and everything?
right.
Every day. And so what I was wondering is, would we be able to donate them to the Carolina's Garden?
So I'm going to say
Something
not
like that?
not at the moment, because huge amounts of cardboard require attention. If it's something like leaves, they will break themselves down. Fruits and vegetable peels, they're already pretty small, they will break themselves down. Cardboard boxes can be used in compost, but you want to shred it. And we don't currently have the ability to shred cardboard to get them into compost. But if you yourself want to compost at home and you want to shred that cardboard up and get it into your pile and you turn that pile frequently, you're going to have really good dirt. And I see a question over there from Joseph who knows what he's talking about, so come on.
So additionally, especially like the smaller boxes, there's a disproportionate amount of plastic wrap or whatever
Tape.
might be on those
Yeah.
boxes, which that doesn't break down. It's difficult to take all that off and use just cardboard. So when people will garden and use that cardboard as a mulch or in their compost, they'll often take like refrigerator boxes where there is a much smaller amount of plastic in proportion to the amount of cardboard that's there.
Mhm.
And then one last thing separately, I just want to mention that I've been helping out with Jeremiah's Garden for about 2.5 years now, and it is owned by the Catholic Church. There's not anybody out there that I've ever seen proselytizing to folks.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different faiths out there. I'm out there sometimes, and it's just a wonderful group of a community of people. They're there to give service, to bring food to people that are in need of food.
Yeah. So you are welcome. Yes. Yes. So young kids are welcome with parental supervision. Deer.
So I
you need a 9-foot fence. You need a deer, they can jump. So the reason we don't have deer is probably because of our location. For you, you're going to need things like coyote urine that you can buy, or it sounds pleasant, y'all, right? Any advice on keeping deer away? You have advice about the deer?
I'd be so hung up on this stuff, just little posts.
Uh-huh.
Will keep, Irish, so it's keeping
Irish Spring? Yeah, I've heard Irish Spring can work to keep them away. Yeah. And I heard mice don't like mint. They do. Do you have hostas? Because they love hostas. Deer love hostas. And you know who else can eat hostas? You can. Hostas are edible. Yeah.
For deer fencing, I know that deer have issues with depth perception. So you can do a 9-foot fence, or sometimes you can do shorter fences too in a row there, and have a hard time navigating, getting between those two fences and over both of them at the same time. So
Big O fence. I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So in neighborhoods I've seen where there are a lot of deer, and this is like suburban neighborhoods with huge amounts of deer in them, people will have a garden, but it'll be very, very small and fenced. So it's a much lower fence, but because it's so small, there's not really a space for a deer to be able to kind of leap in and leap back out, so they don't even bother. So if you have a small fenced area, that might work.
Lena, could I ask that we continue this after the service?
Sure, y'all can ask. I'm staying for potluck, so if y'all have more questions, I'm here.
Keep your questions in your mind, but let's do it where you
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
That was incredible. Awesome. Please rise in body or spirit for, again, don't pay attention to the hymn that's in the order of service. It is 349 in the gray hymnal. Extinguishing the chalice. How rare it is, and how lovely it is that this fellowship we have together comes together today and every Sunday that we wish to have it. Thank you for being here. Let's get set up for our potluck. Thank you, Ken. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Postlude, then the prayer.
Native American or indigenous nations, both are terms that people use, and there's other terms too, but they all have prayers important to each tribe or nation. However, there are threads that can be heard through almost all of them. Indigenous nations held and continues to hold great respect for their people, certain animals, the sky, plants, trees, and landscapes. These threads are reflected in their prayers. The first two, these are all short. The first two are Cherokee. Make me wise so that I may understand the things that you have taught my people. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. I seek strength not to be greater than my brother, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes. This is the second Cherokee prayer. May your heart be cleansed that you might hear its message clearly. May your throat be cleansed that you might speak rightly when words are needed. May your eyes be cleansed that you might see the signs and wonders of the world. This next one was written by Nancy Wood in 1974 in her book of poems, Many Winters. It's called Hold On to What Is Good. Hold on to what is good, even if it's a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it's a tree which stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it's a long way home from here. Hold on to life, even when it's easier letting go. Hold on to my hand, even when I have gone away from you. And the last one is from our own hymnal. There are probably, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 9 or 10 Native American prayers that are in the back part of our hymnal, the reading section, and this is number 551. This is from Ute Indians of North America, which, just a little bit of information, Utah was named from the Ute Indian Nation. The word comes from the Utes. Earth, teach me stillness as the grasses are stilled with light. Earth, teach me suffering as the old stones suffer with memory. I think I'm an old stone. Earth, teach me caring as parents who secure their young. Earth, teach me courage as the tree which stands alone. Earth, teach me limitation as the ant which crawls on the ground. Earth, teach me freedom as the eagle which soars in the sky. Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall. Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring. Earth, teach me to forget myself as snow forgets its life. And finally, earth, teach me to remember kindness as dry fields weep with rain. Thank y'all. I love you all.